Alright, good evening. Welcome everybody again for one of my late night streams. And yeah, it's Wednesday night, so it's a bit out of my usual schedule, and so I am doing something special tonight. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, it's gonna be U-Boat again, but tonight I want to show you this one, the Starship Simulator. Hey Uncle Bot, nice to have you in. Same for you, Nico. I hope you are fine, both of you. Yeah, this is a new one. At least I wasn't aware that the demo was out. This game, Starship Simulator, it's on my wish list since a while, but they didn't even have a release date for the early access or whatsoever. Yeah, I'm fine. Had a relatively quiet day, which is fine. Quite relaxed, so I called it a day relatively early and spent the late afternoon with my wife. And yeah, having an extended chat with some coffee and yeah, finally watching some series. Yeah, I haven't seen much about that game in any media. I just kind of stumbled into it by chance, but the concept is great, and what I see here in this demo, it's great. Yeah, here they say it's a tech demo, so we're not going into a complete open world gameplay or something, but we get a first impression of what they want to do with this game, and this is what I really love. Release in 2022. Oh yeah. Well, we all have to keep fingers crossed that they actually make it to release. Never clear. I don't know what their financial model actually is, or where their funding is raised from. But so I installed this demo today, and I would, yeah, very much, suggest that anybody of you also installs the demo, because having a lot of these demos installed might actually give them additional, credibility, so that they might get the funding to continue with the development, because this is going to be great. Thank you guys for the nice thumbnails, or well, emojis actually. Yeah, I would like to advertise a bit for this one, and maybe you would just, it's for free, and it wasn't much space on the hard drive, so just install it and try it out, and keep it installed so that the community, that the guys who give the money, see that people are interested in this simulation, because this is really the risk. This is a big project what they have here, and I see a high risk that they might not have the money to finish it. So yeah, let's see. So we can actually do a mission, but I won't do that right now. I would like first to go into the training modules with you to show you what the game is about. Multiplayer, I'm not sure if multiplayer actually works already. So let's go into the training module right away. Bridge, scanning and navigation, engineering cold start sequence. And that's really interesting. Yeah, I did complete it already once, but let's go through it once more. Bridge, scanning and navigation. Let's do that. So here you see how detailed the model is. They really have done a 3D model of the ship, and these guys really know something about engineering, I think. And yeah, the game is, you can play it solo and you can play it co-op, which is great.
Welcome to the Magellan class Scanning and Navigation Training Module. My name is Ava, and the UN Space Fleet's AI voice assistant. In this module, we will review the correct procedure for identifying targets of interest, and then navigating the ship to the desired location. To begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. I have placed a waypoint on your HUD to help you find your way.
Yeah, there we have the waypoints, and yeah, so this is a meeting room abaft of the bridge. And yeah, look at that. Here we have our reflections in the screen, the glass screen, and this is a nice feature. What we can do here, we can turn on some projection here so that it actually looks like, see, that it really looks like three-dimensional view out. And let's see, we have different types here. Misty forest, rocky desert, shady forest, coastal highlands. Yeah, that's the one we started with, I think. Yeah, and well, more interesting, or technically interesting maybe, turn it off again, and now look at what you can do here. You can turn on a polarization filter, and if you remember, a polarization filter is really something, yeah, like you can prevent reflection. That's what I'm gonna do, turn it on, see, and now we have minimized the reflection. That what we see here is part of this ring superstructure of the ship, and also pretty realistic outside. It's completely dark. We still have a little bit of reflection, and this is also something that I love to see, that this just not turn the reflection completely off, but stays at some minimum reflection. There, this is the view above, so this is one of the these propulsion pieces, like we know it from Enterprise. And yes, the graphics looks nice. The interior is still pretty raw here and there. The room here is kind of equipped. What can we do here? Historical media library. I don't know what we can do there. Let's open, close. We can even lock that door. What can we do here? Room lighting off. On. Let's go. So several rooms here. This looks like an office. Maybe this is the captain's office. And another office. And an empty room. Yeah, here you see that the game is still in the development phase. There they say WIP, work in progress. But pretty nice. So before we proceed to the bridge, let's go for the bridge. That's how the bridge looks.
Welcome to the bridge. This is the ship's nerve center, where you have command and control over any ship system. Right now, we're interested in the science station, so make your way over to that console and take a seat.
So if we look at what we have, we can also lock the door here, I guess. Close it. So this is interesting. So the ship already has a fully simulated electrical system. And well, it originates electricity. There is batteries, so U-boat, welcome. So most of the whole systems are driven by batteries, and the batteries are actually loaded by a fusion reactor. The fusion reactor loads the batteries, and then there is a very sophisticated system that distributes electricity all over the ship. And here, what we see here is different input feeds. So we get actually electricity from 3 distributors, and that's redundancy actually. So the ship is pretty redundant, and if one of them would fail, we would still have 3 others. And so from there, via the internal bus, the different systems of the bridge are supplied. And you can turn all of these systems on and off. So bridge lighting, bridge hardware, deck A lighting, deck A hardware. And let's take a look outside. I think at the moment we are in Earth's orbit. Not quite sure, to be honest. This is our good old sun. This is Earth. What we see there, probably. So, and
this
here
bridge station is responsible for scanning space around the ship and then highlighting any targets of scientific interest for the command staff. You'll notice that the sensor's UI has 4 distinct modes, with each mode corresponding to one of the ship's physical sensor arrays. Let's begin by taking a look at the galactic position mode, which ties into the X-ray pulsar-based navigation and timing array, or XNAV for short. This array tracks the location and timing of known pulsars to accurately derive the ship's position relative to the galactic core. We can also reference that same catalogue of known stellar objects to obtain a high-level overview of each galactic sector. The default sector target always aligns with our ship's current local sector. However, by using the controls below, we can actually target any sector of space, anywhere in the galaxy, or even beyond. Go ahead and press the Target Select button to switch from our local sector to a manually targeted one.
So here at the moment we are, this is us, Magellan, that's the name of our ship. And yeah, out there we see a 3-dimensional projection of the map. And here we can zoom in and display alignment. Here now we zoom in on the Magellan, but okay, that's not much of detail on that level because we are on this galactic long range level.
You'll notice that the sector information has now updated to reflect the change of sector target. While this is only a high-level overview of a given sector, the data can still be useful when deciding where to explore next. And then finally, we have some simple display controls for refining your view of the galactic map. Have a go at targeting a few different sectors yourself, and then press the long range button when you're ready to continue.
And this is something that I didn't yet quite get, how I could target different sectors. Okay, so here I can manually scan across the map to, well, wherever.
The long-range mode employs the ship's space-time curvature mass inferencer, or SCMI array for short. As the name suggests, the SCMI array infers the location and mass of celestial objects by detecting localized changes in the curvature of spacetime. While operating in passive mode, the array detects the largest sources of space-time curvature within a 50 light-year radius of the target location. Typically, these will be star systems, but the array is also capable of detecting much smaller objects within a few light-years, such as rogue planets. And as with the XNav array, the default target location is the ship's current galactic coordinates. This will update automatically and refresh the target list as you travel across the galaxy, but you can toggle that behavior on and off using the auto refresh button. And again, we can also manually target any sector of space in an effort to find distant targets of interest. Just be aware that the SCNI array has a maximum active range of 2,000 light-years, beyond which it can only resolve the most massive of objects. And on the subject of active scans, let's take a more detailed look at a nearby star system. Go ahead and select the Alpha Centauri system, our closest stellar neighbor. A basic overview of that system is generated on the right-hand side, and the displayed information will expand over time as more detailed scans are performed. Now go ahead and click the Align to Target button to focus the SCMI array on this specific location and display. We are now presented with a more detailed view of the targeted location. However, you'll notice that it's only showing the passively acquired data. Let's fill in the blanks by performing a long-range survey.
Initiating
The SCMI
long-range
array is
survey.
now actively scaling the target location for point-like increases in the curvature of space.
So this is
By employing Einstein's field equations, the system can derive the amount of mass required to cause the observed increase in curvature.
this is actually
Then,
the system
once
of
the
Alpha
mass is
Centauri.
known, we can determine roughly what class of object we are observing. Okay,
Long-range
there we go.
survey
Which is something
We now have a
4
much
light
more
years
accurate
away,
picture
and
of
we are
this star
scanning it
system.
with long-range
Go ahead and select any of
scanners.
the objects in the target list. You'll find that we now have more detailed information available to us on the right-hand UI panel. You will also notice that the data is split into distinct knowledge levels, and with our long-range survey, we have unlocked knowledge level 1. This is also indicated on each target entry by way of a single green pin. The goal here is to find rocky worlds within a star's habitable zone, which is our primary target of scientific interest. We can then navigate the ship to that location in order to perform more detailed scans, ultimately increasing our knowledge level for any given object. Typically, we'd perform numerous surveys on many different star systems before plotting a course, but for now, let's pick a target in this system. Go ahead and select any planet that appeals to you from the list, and then select the Send to Helm button.
Yeah, let's choose this most outside terrestrial planet in that system and then send these data to the helm.
This makes the planet's coordinates available to the helm station, so let's head over and take a look at that console now.
Alright, so here we still have that three-dimensional picture of Alpha Centauri. I don't know, is this the habitable... okay, the habitable zone. Frost line, interesting. So now we are going for that planet which is outside of the habitable zone, but still, let's go there and then we could still change. Yeah, isn't it? Pretty much like that. So let's go for the
We'll
helm.
begin by taking a quick look at the various screens available to the helm. The left-hand display is dedicated to navigation and shows both the ship's current galactic position along with its target destination coordinates. The central display deals with the flight controls themselves, including the FTL system, sublight engines, and the reaction control thrusters. The right-hand screen features
Faster
the
than light,
autopilot controls,
I
tunnels
think.
full of 3D target indicators, and the ship's navigation lights.
FTL.
Okay, let's retrieve the target information from the sensors by pressing the Use Sensor Target button on the navigation panel.
Here, use sensor target. That's the data that we just transferred from the sensors station.
Your target's coordinates should now be displayed in this box, which represents your current nav target. The galactic coordinates represent the target's position in the galaxy to the nearest whole light year. The coordinates are relative to the center of our galaxy, the supermassive black hole known as Sagittarius A star. The local coordinates represent the target's position within a star system. The coordinates are relative to the system's center of gravity, which is usually a star or the barycenter in multi-star systems. While it is possible to fly the ship manually to any location in the galaxy, let's engage the autopilot for now so that I can take care of that for you. Go ahead and press the highlighting button on the right-hand screen.
Yeah, that's great. So see, this is in light years, LY, and this is in kilometers. So this would be, yeah, the distance from the local star would be, oh, that's tricky. Without a separation mark, it would be 178 million kilometers away from the local star, from Alpha Centauri. And yeah, 26,000 light years away from the center of the galaxy. So engage, let's get there.
The ship will now automatically turn to face the current nav target, but you will need to manually engage the FTL system in order for us to get underway. You may now engage the FTL system when you are ready.
I think I am. Let's go.
While the autopilot is engaged, I will manage the ship's speed and final approach to the tiny coordinates, so just sit back and enjoy the ride.
I'm gonna do.
The FTL system works by compressing space ahead of the ship and then expanding it behind, creating a bubble of warped space with the ship occupying a region of flat space-time at its center. The FTO field massively amplifies the ship's current velocity by a factor of the field strength along the direction of the field's forward vector. This means the FTL field does not physically move the ship. It instead relies on the thrust provided by the ship's sublight engines. The maximum speed of the ship is therefore a combination of the FTL field strength and the thrust output of the sublight engines.
Okay.
For the Magellan class, this is approximately 300 light years per hour.
Wow.
Even so, the Milky Way is a vast and mysterious place. And even at our
300 light years per hour. And now we understand how it works.
It looks like we're not far from our destination now, so enjoy the view while I handle the final approach.
So we are getting in, still 1.3, 1.2, 1.1 light years away from Alpha Centauri and this terrestrial planet that we chose. Yeah, this could, if you do it in co-op, it could become like something like Wolfpack, right? Okay, 1 million kilometers falling, and there we are. Coming in, that's the planet, obviously. All right. Ah, I can see. Can even control.
Okay, here we are. You are now looking at an entirely new world, bathed in the light of another star. At this distance, our home is now just another point of light in the vast darkness of space.
Yes.
Does life exist here? What new things can we discover on this world? These are the questions that this ship was designed to answer. Let's head back to the sensor station, and we'll see if we can answer some of those questions. With our ship having arrived at our target star system, we can now employ the medium-range sensors to broaden our general knowledge. Let's head back to the sensor station, and we'll see if we can answer some of those questions now.
Yep. Wow, I like this three-dimensional display
With
there.
our ship having arrived at our target star system, we can now employ the medium-range sensors to broaden our general knowledge of this location.
Yeah, let's do that.
Go ahead and press that button. The medium-range sensors employ multiple modules that are combined into a single array, known as the Multi-Band Interferometric Spectrometer, or NTHIS for short. This array has the resolution to perform detailed scans of any object larger than a few dozen kilometers, with its range covering an entire star system. Operationally, we perform a medium-range survey as a matter of course when entering any new star system. This elevates us to knowledge level 2 for all objects in range. Let's do that now. Go ahead and initiate the survey. Just as with the
this is scanning
survey,
now all the planets.
Works outward from the central star, targeting each detective object in turn. It uses a combination of interferometry and spectroscopy to determine the precise nature and class of all system objects, including their atmospheric composition. Okay, let's wait for the survey to complete. There we go. You'll notice that we are now showing 2 green pips on each of the objects in this system. And on the right-hand side, you'll find that we have now generated the knowledge level 2 data. At this point, we've performed enough analysis to determine the true nature of each planet, and more importantly, whether or not we've discovered an Earth analog. But what about life, or signs of civilization, past or present? For that, we're going to need a short-range scan. Go ahead and switch to the short-range mode. The short-range sensors employ the synthetic aperture terahertz imaging radar, or the Satya array for short.
Okay, this one will now focus only
tomographic
on
image
that planet in which's orbit we are at the moment.
Each individual data point.
Hey, weight loss! Nice to have you in.
With this technology, we can determine the presence of life, identify artificial structures, and even conduct metallurgical analysis.
I'm trying a
Let's
demo.
perform a scan of this planet now and see what details we can reveal. Begin by highlighting the planet in the target listing.
A Starship simulation which might become the U-boat of space, or as you can do it in co-op in the future, at least that's planned, could even be the Wolfpack of space. Yeah, they did a few things. I actually just today or yesterday I recognized that they have a demo out, and so I uploaded the demo for free, and I'm just about to do some advertising for anybody in the stream to do the same and download the demo. Yeah, to give them some thrust, because this game looks great, and I'm a little bit worried that they might not do it across the finishing line. So, we are now at the, I don't know, 8th planet or something of Alpha Centauri, and let's give it.
And now initiate the short-range scan.
Scan the target. Here we are.
Great. You'll notice that we have now generated knowledge level 3 data for this planet, which covers all of its surface details. Any given star system is considered to be fully explored once all of its planets are scanned to knowledge level 3. Okay, let's take a look at those surface details. Go ahead and press the surface map. From here we can enable or disable various data overlays depending on our current area of scientific interest. The first overlay is fairly self-explanatory. It simply displays the planet's cloud layers. The next overlay shows the planet's lit and unlit regions. This button highlights any tech signatures on the planet's surface, be that current or historical technology. And then we have life signatures, which can be anything from simple bacteria to complex life forms. You are now armed with the knowledge and skill required to head out into the unknown depths of our galaxy, to conduct scientific research and discover its mysteries. This ship and her crew are tasked with exploring distant worlds, seeking out new life in all of its diversity, and making peaceful first contact with any intelligent species that we might encounter along the way.
All right.
This concludes the scanning and navigation training module. You are free to continue exploring if you wish, but please be aware that your progress will not be saved. Thank you, and goodbye.
Yep, thank you. So we see there is nothing of interest on that surface, obviously. And so if we go for the galactic, for the long range position, for the medium range, and now let's see. We are out of the habitable zone. Maybe we should get into the habitable zone. Let's see. let's choose a planet which is within the habitable zone. So it wouldn't be this one, that's the one we are on. If we go there, let's go for this one. This is nicely in the habitable zone. And let's send these data to the helm. Use SNR data and engage. And now go for faster than light. Are we ready to go faster than light? Go. Closing in. Right, let's see what we have. So this is an Earth-like planet in the habitable zone. Let's go back for the sensors. And let's see, that's the medium range. Oh. Gave me a little bit of a scare. Now go for short range and choose the planet and scan the target. Let's see what we get. It is in the habitable zone, which means in principle life would be possible. But yeah, looks like there is not much of interest. Let's on the cloud, off the clouds. No technical structures and no life down there. Yeah, well, okay. Would be pretty unrealistic if it would be so easy to find life. Now that's it. And yeah, we can have a little look. And I love that. So we haven't been here. This is the bridge, and now we go aft, and there is some kind of a launch here, and we can go down, and this is what they call the VIP launch. Okay. Doesn't, well, however, I pretty much like how this is modeled. Here, this is the view backwards from this top module, and these are the drives. The drive gondola, would you call it like that? Here we have some, yeah, that in future would be the kitchen area, something like that. Organic printer, okay, an organic printer to create food, nice. And they already have something here. And that's the electricity distribution to the VIP lounge, lighting. Yep, nice. this is some storage rooms, I think. Yeah, white floor. And here we are. Okay, cleaning robot. And this is where we are. So stateroom, this is I think the office's living quarters, which is pretty spacious. So look at that. So it's a complete apartment that the offices have. Pretty comfortable, I would say. Yeah, I think that's what a stateroom is. Yeah, I think it's the office's accommodation. From here we have a nice view towards the planet. Interesting. Yeah, all the accommodation, offices accommodation. So if we look at it, how many offices are there? 6, obviously. Yeah, I like that. I really like that. And now we can go downstairs. Deck C. Deck A is the bridge, Deck B was where we just were, and now this is the science lab sector, Deck C. And there is quite some area which is not yet developed further. Yeah, it's VWIP, work in progress. So not yet anything around here. Okay, and here it's even buggy. We get outside. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's forget that. And let's hope that they... Nice. Ship's cat. All right. No stamina. What do we get here? All right. Yeah, but it already looks pretty beautiful. But they do have a lot of work to do like that. Let's get one level down. That was deck C. Let's go for deck D. And okay, that's a large one. That's the largest deck probably, with a lot of crew cabins, storage, more crew cabins. bowling alley, weapon control, medical facility, hydroponics, shuttle bay, abaft. And yeah, there is that central area they already worked on, so let's go abaft. Okay, and from here, yeah, they tell us that this is the end of the area, which is actually already been being polished. So I think there is nothing much of interest on that deck. One level down, deck E, habitation level. So what do we have here? More crew cabins. Wow. Cinema, bar. Yeah, okay, that looks a bit generic. Having two levels which have more or less the same arrangement. So let's get one further down. And here we are. The battery rooms, yeah. So that's the concept. There is the reactor, the fusion reactor, and that supplies the energy to load the batteries, and the batteries supply the whole ship. And yeah, we need this cryogenic storage of helium to actually run the reactor. Yeah, we can look at one of these battery rooms. Hey, I thought they were already. Okay, that's life support, engineering control room. Okay, that's the batteries. All the cells finally supplying. So here on the bottom left you see where the energy comes in from the reactor, and up there you see where, up to the top left you see where the energy goes out to supply the ship. Pretty redundant actually. Well, we could take a look. What's the voltage? 240 volts is going out of the system, and each cell, yeah, you see a cell condition, healthy, charge level 100%, time to depletion 44 minutes, but this is only if we would not supply it with new energy from the reactor. There's no voltage given for each single battery. Charging current is 5 ampere at the moment, and Drew current is much less. So we are fine. How many batteries? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 batteries delivering 240 volts, so maybe each is 24 volts. But on the other hand, now 1.6 roughly 16. No, then it cannot be. You have to make up your mind. Ah, interesting. It's always, if you look at how they do it. So there comes in from the bottom, there comes the energy from the, so there is a loading current coming from the reactor. And this loading current distributes on they are in parallel, in pairs. Interesting. They are all in parallel. If you put it exactly, they are all in parallel. So that means that each of the batteries must by itself supply a voltage of 240, but the amperes, the current, actually sums up. And that makes sense. Each battery at the moment delivers 1.6 and 10 batteries, giving in total something like a bit less than 16 ampere output for the whole thing. So that means that each battery by itself delivers 240 volts. Well, in principle it's possible, depending on the design of each battery pack. So let's check the cryogenic department, which I think we have here then, right? Yep. So that's the cryogenic tanks. And here we have helium coolant at 20 bar, 100 liters, 100,000 liters, and the temperature is at 3 Kelvin, which is a bit below the temperature of liquid helium, which would be 4, if I remember right. 4 Kelvin. So that means that not quite sure if it's liquid helium, how it could be that cold. So that means that there must be evaporating some helium constantly. That would cool it down even further. That's the helium coolant tank. What else do we have? Helium chiller is online. Just wonder where the helium actually comes from. This is something which is not yet explained. So here we have the helium chiller, here we have the helium-3. So the helium actually gives us the low temperature. The helium-3 we need for the fusion. And there is the deuterium, which we also need for the fusion. Deuterium fuel tank A, deuterium fuel tank B. Just wonder, where do we get that mass from? Where do we get the helium and the deuterium from? All these systems, I pretty much like them. But basically, where do we get the mass from? here we are. So we are still in the oh yes, so now here we can actually see the reactor. Can we, yeah, we are at the bottom level of the reactor now. Can go 2 levels up. That's, yeah, pretty much like how this looks. Deck F. So now having done a little bit of navigation and traveling, and finally done some exploration of the ship, I would now switch to the next tutorial that we have. So quit to the main menu. And here we are. Training modules, and this one. I'd like to do this cold start sequence. That would assume that all ship systems are run down completely and we start from the scratch. And this is, yeah, given a good view of how detailed they actually already, yeah, designed the systems of the ship, how to run. And by the way, allow me to be AFK just for a minute. let's go for this cold start sequence.
Welcome to the Magellan-class Cold Start training module. My name is Ava. I'm the UN Space Fleet's AI voice assistant. In this module, we will review the correct procedure for starting up the ship's fusion reactor and then supplying power to the vessel. The ship is currently in a cold and dark state, so for your safety, I have taken the liberty of turning on your torch for you. To begin, follow the waypoints on your HUD to the lower floor of the reactor room.
So where are we at the moment? Not quite clear. Which deck? Aft cargo holds, shuttle bay. Okay, the screens also don't show anything. So, in this state it's pretty hard to find your way in the ship because you don't see the maps. Interesting. So all these screens are dark. And here we go for the engine room.
As you can see, the reactor is offline, and none of the ship's systems are powered. Our first task is to provide power to the engineering decks, so let's make our way to the start capacitor's room. Follow the waypoints on your HUD to the startup distributor.
Weight loss, I would be very interested in how much actually changed since you went into the demo of the game. You said you did it a year ago. So the startup capacitor, so there is some kind of basic...
As its name suggests, the startup distributor routes energy from the start capacitors to the engineering decks, and also provides the reactor with the power it needs to create the initial fusion reaction. You'll notice the device is already powered, because the start capacitors are fully charged. Let's go ahead and get some lights on by connecting all of the breakers. Start with the G-deck breakers, as indicated.
So if the start capacitors were not fully charged, we would be in dire straits actually. But yeah, usually you would do this startup in port, and maybe you would even have electricity from port to do that, and then you should always have the start capacitors loaded, just in case that for some reason the whole system runs down and you have to restart it. So with the start capacitors connected, let's give some basic energy to the different decks, to the G deck, which is around here. So we have now minimum.
And now the F deck breakers.
That's okay. So now we use the start capacitors to at least provide some basic lighting on the engineering decks, and then now give that electricity also to the reactor.
Excellent. Now we can see what we're doing. You can go ahead and turn off your torch by pressing T. The reactor controls should now be online, so let's walk back to the reactor room and take a look.
And now we have these, screens here working now. Oh, nice. I love that. So here
this
we
console
are.
displays the reactor's vital information and provides you with full control over the reactor and its subsystems. On the left-hand side, we have the coolant section, which shows the liquid helium coolant flow and the condition of the magnetic field coils. On the right-hand side, we have the electrical section, which shows the reactor's main electrical bus, along with its input and output feeds. In the center, we have the reactor's main display, where we can control the fusion reaction itself. As you can see from all of these alarms, it would be impossible to initiate a stable fusion reaction under the current conditions, so let's fix that. The first thing we need to do is supply power to the reactor's internal bus, so go ahead and switch the reactor to startup mode by pressing the indicated button.
Yeah, nice. We have this Yeah, drawing 0 with the switches, and now the switches.
Now that the reactor has power, we can activate the vacuum pump to start purging the confinement chamber.
So this is coming in from these capacitors. Yeah, nice, of course. And then the reaction chamber has to be purged. It has to be on vacuum, and we can now start the vacuum pumps.
The chamber pressure should now be dropping. To sustain a fusion reaction, we need an internal pressure of less than 10 nanopascals.
Wow, great.
While we wait for the confinement chamber to reach its target pressure, let's take care of the reactor's fuel and coolant supplies. Exit the reactor room via the door behind you, and follow the waypoints on your HUD to the cryogenic storage room.
Okay, the pumps are running. Now let's check the cryo equipment.
These storage tanks hold all of the cryogenic fluids that are used to both fuel and cool the reactor. All 4 tanks are currently empty, so our first task is to begin the filling process. Let's start with the helium coolant. Head behind the storage tanks to access the helium cryo cooler.
So all the tanks are empty at the moment, and this is the big riddle that stays unanswered. Now we are going to fill these tanks, and where does actually the matter, the material come from that we
The
fill
cryo coolers
these
use a process
with?
called magnetic refrigeration to convert gas into a cryogenic fluid before pumping it into the connected storage tank. Start up the helium cryo cooler now by using the indicated control on its user interface.
So we do have some helium supply, and this is something that is not yet implemented, right? So there must be a helium level intake manifold. So power on.
Excellent. Now if you turn around, you'll find the helium refill valve located on the back wall. These valves control the flow of gases harvested by the ship's gas collection hardware, which is located on the underside of the forward hull. Go ahead and open the helium supply valve now to begin supplying the cryo cooler with helium gas.
So the ship has a gas harvesting system. So while we travel through space, we are harvesting gas. I think this is a mechanics probably that they're going to introduce later. Probably you have to kind of skip close to gas planets, for example. That would be great if you would kind of skip across the atmosphere of gas planets and then harvest these gases that we need here. So we have to open that valve.
If you turn around again and inspect the display screen connected to the helium tank, you should be able to confirm that the tank is now filling with fluid. We now need to perform the same sequence of events for the other 3 tanks. Head over to the helium-3 cryo cooler next.
Why do we have 2? Ah, yeah, okay, all right.
Helium-3 is the first of 2 fuels used in the fusion reaction. As before, power up the device using its user interface.
Here, temperature. And yeah, okay, the tank is filling. Now turn the power
And now
on.
open the helium-3 refill valve behind you to start filling its associated. Next, we need to start filling the 2 deuterium tanks. So let's head over to the other side of the room.
So that was the helium, ordinary helium, that we just need for cooling the magnetic coils. And this is the helium-3, which we need as ingredient for the fusion. And finally we need the deuterium.
Deuterium, also known as heavy hydrogen, is the second of the 2 fusion fuels. We store double the amount of deuterium compared to helium-3, because deuterium also fuels the reactor's neutral beam injectors. As before, turn on the first deuterium cryocooler. And now the first deuterium refill valve behind you. Next, turn on the second deuterium cryocooler. And now the second deuterium refill valve. Okay, perfect. All 4 storage tanks should now be filling with cryogenic fluids. For our next
Deuterium
task, we
fuel
now need
A,
to engage the
deuterium
cryopumps in order
fuel
to start
B.
supplying the reactor with everything it needs. Make your way around to the other side of the tanks and locate the deuterium tank outflow valve. Open the deuterium outflow valve to begin supplying fluid to its connected cryopump.
Yes.
Next, power on the pump itself using the button indicated on its user interface. Excellent. That's half of the fuel mix taken care of. Now head over to the helium-3 tank outflow valve so we can complete the fuel supply. As before, begin by opening the helium-3 outflow valve. And now engage the helium-3 cryo. Perfect. All we have to do now is take care of the coolant flow. Now open the and finally, power on the helium cryopump. There we go. The reactor is now being supplied with all the fuel and coolant it needs.
All right.
Follow the waypoints back to the reactor room, where we have just a few more valves to open.
I love that. I really love how they... I mean, of course, it's assumptions. I mean, fusion doesn't work yet. It will work. What do usually the scientists say? Fusion will work in 20 years. So this is the constant of fusion research. It's 20 years. Because, yeah, it's a time... a time invariant. So 50 years ago, the scientists said that in 20 years we are going to have fusion, and 20 years ago the scientists said that in 20 years we will have fusion, and now the scientists say in 20 years we are going to have fusion. Yeah, that's an old physicist joke.
To complete the coolant loop, open the helium inflow valve to start flowing coolant through the Now make your way around to the opposite side of the reactor to complete the fuel supply process. First, open the deuterium inflow valve, and now open the helium-3 inflow valve. Okay, great. Let's head over to the reactor controls and take a look at the coolant display. As you can see, we now have coolant flowing into the reactor. This has begun the process of cooling down the magnetic field coils, which must reach temperatures below 20 Kelvin in order to become superconductive. Once the coils have reached their target temperature, you will be able to engage the magnetic... Okay, the temperatures look good. You can now power up the field coils. With a solid vacuum established, the field coils powered up, and fuel flowing into the reactor, you are now free to initiate the fusion reaction.
Okay.
Congratulations! You have now successfully started the fusion reactor. For safety, the reactor automatically starts up at only 10% of its rated power. This means high voltage systems,
Beautiful.
such as the ATL drive,
Beautiful.
will be underpowered until you increase the reactor output. Let's resolve that now. Increase the power level to 100% using the indicated control. You'll notice that you can increase the power beyond 100%, but doing so for an extended period will overheat the reactor, causing damage and forcing an uncontrolled shutdown. Okay, we now need to provide power to the rest of the ship. With the reactor now powering itself, you can go ahead and switch the internal bus mode from startup to supply.
So now, yep. That means from now on we are gonna supply energy.
Perfect. If we now head around to the opposite side of the reactor output distributor should now be powered up.
So this opened, so now we are not taking energy out of the startup capacitors anymore. Of course, it would be nice now if it were heated somehow in this simulation that now you have to reload the startup capacitors. However,
this device distributes the reactor's output to the ship's high voltage systems, which are in fact the only systems powered directly by the reactor. The rest of the ship is powered by 48 individual battery arrays,
yes.
which we now need to begin charging using the reactor's output. Go ahead and connect all 5.
So this is all going. Propulsion, weapons, shields, FTL drive, and the batteries.
Excellent. If you turn to your left, you'll see the 5 high voltage distributors are now coming online. Head over to the main battery distributor. This device takes the high voltage reactor feed and distributes it to each of the 8 battery rooms on F deck. Go ahead and connect all 8 output breakers.
There we are. Okay, why is this still flashing?
Perfect. The battery arrays should now be charging, but we should perform a visual inspection to make sure.
All right.
Follow the waypoints on your HUD to port battery room 1.
Port battery room 1. Here
The
we
electrical
are.
supply on Magellan-class starships is divided into 4 isolated quadrants: forward, aft, port, and starboard. For increased redundancy, each quadrant is powered by 2 physically isolated battery rooms just like this one. Should the battery arrays in one room cease to function for any reason, the arrays in the second room will continue providing power to that particular quadrant. Similarly, power to one quadrant can be lost entirely, without impacting the supply to the remaining 3 quadrants. Okay, let's take a look at one of the... On the left-hand side of the user interface, you have controls for managing the input and output breakers. And in the center, you have controls and information relating to this array's 10 solid-state battery cells.
Yeah.
If we did everything correctly, all of the cells should now be slowly charging up.
Yeah, they are.
For the next step, we now need to connect each of the 8 battery rooms to the ship's electrical grid. This task will take us into the ship's labyrinth of maintenance tunnels, so be sure to watch your head. Follow the waypoints on your HUD to port battery aggregator 1.
Yeah, okay, it's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 battery rooms. Yeah, that matches with what she was just telling me.
Each battery room has a corresponding battery aggregator, just like this one. These devices perform load balancing and also combine each room's 6 individual battery arrays into a single high voltage feed. Go ahead and connect the output Okay, 1 down and 7 more to go. Next, head over to port battery aggregator. As before, connect this aggregator's output breaker. That takes care of the port battery rooms. Let's make our way to the forward quadrant next.
Weight loss, are you still there? I
Go
would
ahead
be
and connect the
curious
output
what
breaker.
you think about that demo. I would pretty much hope that you would say that this is a big progress in comparison to what you saw a year ago.
And the same again on forward battery aggregator 2.
Because I really want to have this development being a
Okay, onwards to the
Success.
starboard quadrant. Same again. And the second starboard aggregator.
Yes.
Almost done. Just the aft quadrant to go. Connect up the first aft aggregator. And finally, the second aft aggregator. Okay, perfect. All 48 of the ship's battery arrays are now connected to the electrical grid. All we have to do now is supply power to the ship's remaining decks, and then perform a few cleanup tasks. We can do most of that from the reactor room, so let's head there now. Follow the waypoints on your HUD to the forward deck distributor.
Yeah, the tutorial is pretty nice. Quite like it. They really did put some effort into explaining the systems, and that's important because it is pretty complex what they were
Each deck in a given quadrant is
creating
fed by
here.
a deck distributor, which takes the total electrical load of that quadrant, and then load balances it between the two connected battery aggregators. Go ahead and connect the output breakers for all 7 decks in this quadrant. Okay, now head over to the starboard deck distributor and do the same.
I have to do it 4 times. Port, starboard, fore, aft.
And now the aft deck distributor.
Yeah.
And finally, the port deck distributor.
Amazing. I mean, of course, the question arises why all that startup procedure is not being done
All quadrants on every deck now have power available from the ship's
Why
main
is it
battery
done
arrays.
manually and not by a
You'll notice, however, that the
standard
ship is still
software
under
procedure?
emergency lighting conditions,
But
because
yeah,
F and G decks are still
nevertheless,
using the start capacitor's supply.
just great.
To resolve this, we simply have to switch the 4 quadrant distributors on F and G decks over to the main battery feed.
Yes.
Head over to the G deck forward quadrant distributor. Each deck has 4 of these devices, 1 for each quadrant. They are fed by the corresponding deck distributor. Go ahead and switch this quadrant over. That's better. Now we can really see
Okay.
what we're doing. Now head over to the starboard quadrant distributor and do the same. And now the aft quadrant distributor.
I like that.
And finally, the port quadrant distributor. That's G deck taken care of. Let's do the same for F deck. Head upstairs to the F deck forward quadrant distributor. As before, switch, and now the same on the starboard quadrant distributor. And again on the aft quadrant distributor. And finally, the port quadrant distributor.
You really need a checklist for that.
Well done. That's the main objectives of the cold start procedure complete. But we have one final bonus task to perform.
Which is?
Follow the waypoints on your HUD up to the bridge, and we'll make the ship flight ready.
Mm-hmm. That's so great. I love it. I mean, in real life, you wouldn't do all that on your own. But there would be crews supporting you. Let's go for the bridge. But at least it's good to have done it once by yourself.
The lights and bridge systems are still turned off, so let's bring everything online. Head over to the A-deck distributor in the engineering alcove. Now go ahead and turn on the bridge lighting. And now power... Okay, there we go. You have successfully started the fusion reactor, routed power to all of the ship's decks, and brought the bridge online into a flight-ready state.
Nice.
This concludes the Magellan-class Cold Start training module. Good luck, and I hope you'll join me again in future training modules.
Yeah, great. That's great, I like that. But of course there is a lot of more stuff and systems. This is a lot about the electrical system, and what they need to add is the question where the mass, where the helium and the deuterium actually come from. How do you harvest them from space? And you would have some stores of helium and deuterium which are getting used up, and you have to refill it. This is not yet included, and of course there's other things like the life support system is not yet in this simulation. You need to create air and food and water, and if they keep up this detail level, they also will have to think about that. But great start. Interesting. Let's see what this. I don't know. I for I don't know. Just checking. Ah, okay. Could also go for different views. Nice. I think I would like this one, this third person view. Okay, what is this? X. Ah, okay. Yeah, pretty nice. So that was the tutorial. And now get to the main menu. So let's start a new mission now. Will erase any current saved data? Yeah, come on. That's alright. First launched in 2061, the Magellan class is renowned for being the first vessel that was designed and built specifically for deep space exploration. "200 people on board. All right. So I want to play it with full crew. And yeah, I don't want to do all that startup again. Let's start flight ready. Hey, come on. Look at that. They are saying coming soon. New ships of various shapes and sizes will be added in the future, from small trading vessels to heavy cruisers. No. Never, guys. Never that. You should really confine yourself to finish this one ship. And then there is a lot of things that you could improve. Please, don't do that. This is pretty much misleading. It's like in U-boat. In U-boat, well, on the one hand, we were all hot to get the Type 9, but finally we were pretty bored and said, okay, maybe the developers would have better put effort into improving the simulation as it is and not giving us a new submarine. Just like here, I think this would be perfectly fine if they would just stick to the Magellan class and make it running. And this is bullshit. This is kind of worrying when, yeah, the project team is kind of not having a good, realistic point of view of the timing. And no, this shouldn't be coming soon. This should be one of the last things to come when everything else is working for the Magellan class. But let's launch the mission, whatever the job would be. Yeah, they are talking a lot, putting a lot emphasis on the electrical system, but they also have to sorry, I have to think about the life support system. So I could put crewmates there. Okay, I'm naked. Alright, so we have some opportunities here, like customize ship, customize character. First name Josh, last name Slocum, country G, Germany. Department. Ah, okay. When you do multiplayer, you can actually give yourself command, role, captain. What if I go for operations? Oh, wow. Nice. Operations, you could be a pilot or deck chief or deck crew. Wow. If you go for engineering, chief engineer or just ordinary engineer. Tactical, security chief, tactical officer. Science. Nice. I don't think that anything of that does have much of a meaning. You could be the chef or the janitor or the chief steward. I'm just the chef. Anybody remembers that movie? passenger. Let's go for command. Oh, sorry, guys. And let's be the captain of the ship, and the rank being the captain. Clothing: head, none. Torso: uniform, short sleeve shirt, long sleeve shirt. Hey, come on. As long as we... Let's do that one. None. Field jacket. And there we are with the boots. Body shape: male, female. Let's be male. Animations. Let's have them neutral. Skin tone is fine. Hairstyle. Okay. What do we have? Long. Pony. Extra long. What if I choose none? Okay. Let's have it like that. Hair color's fine like that. I think I'm gonna save it. Customize character. No, customize ship. Organization, ship name, registry number, seasonal decorations. Or what about the walls? Flooring. Yeah, okay, come on, let's just stick to it like we have it. Where is our shadow? There it is. Yeah, we have the sun shining straight into the bridge, which gives quite some nice atmosphere, I would say. Only question now is, what is our mission? Yeah, you have to go to first person. Okay, we are in the orbit of Earth, and now we can go somewhere. Long range. Let's go for Alpha Centauri. Survey Alpha Centauri.
Initiating long-range survey.
16 objects there.
Long-range survey complete.
Now, let's go for terrestrial planet number 2 and send these data to Helm. Oops, what was that? Huh. Wow. Nice. Pretty nice. So this is the array to harvest gas, I think. You use the targeted data and engage. And let's go there, engage FTL. Can we? Yeah, and there are the weapon systems which are not yet implemented. They are still, yeah, they still have a long way to go, these guys. But what they started up to now, I really love it. I hope that they manage to work further on it. Yeah, like usual, the high risk is that they run out of funding. So this is why I would love to advertise with all of you guys that, yeah, that you would just download the demo. That might give them a bit of a kick with their investors. Yeah, I'm curious how they are gonna balance the micromanagement. So what I just did in the tutorial, that's 100% micromanagement to start up the engines like that. And on the one hand, it's nice to have it like that. On the other hand, maybe you would prefer to have some. We are pretty far inside, so we need to get to 2 more planets out. Let's go for that one.
Initiating long-range survey.
Ah, shit, we already had that. This is a waste of time.
Long-range survey complete.
But I would like to go to number 4. Send that one to Helm. Nah, come on. Let's go into this. And this is in the middle of the habitable zone. Use the target. Engage. Engage FTL. Faster than light. Here we are, that planet is in the habitable zone. Yeah, let's do the medium range scan. Short range. Let's give it a scan. Okay, now we have all these information. What do we get from it? Do we gain experience or something? So this is maybe still missing, so that you actually get some leveling system, which is not at all transparent here, that you would get anything like that. But of course that would be, well, air quotes, easy to implement based on what great achievement they already have reached here with simulating that beautiful system, that beautiful ship, bridge and everything. Yeah, that's just amazing. Surface map. Nothing of interest there, actually. GPS mode. Habitation. Let's get one further down. Oh wow, now there is crew running around. Mr. Winter, Mr. Ferguson, nice to have these guys running around down here. Mrs. Hansen. Did we have you? Ferguson, yep. Mr. Butler. Can't interact with these guys. But nice to see them around. Now let's get back to the bridge. Yeah. Now we have investigated that one planet in detail. Medium range. What about that one? Is it in the habitable zone? Nope. That one is not in the habitable zone. That's the one where we are right now. Nope, definitely not in the habitable zone. So now question is, what if I put somebody to the helm? Summoned an NPC. Yeah, if I could now issue orders from here, I should be able to just talk to the guy. I wouldn't have to walk over there and tell him what to do on close quarters, but just shout and tell him go for that waypoint. So, I have to get up, obviously. Nav to that target. No. Closing in onto that planet. So actually this now feels a bit of a grind. Just going through all these planets and checking them. I think we already have that. Yeah, we already have these data. Yeah, scan the target. What do we get? There's just nothing. Just nothing. All right, so yeah, I need to get some sleep, and I think we went through. I pretty much love this one. The whole ship is beautifully simulated. They did a great job at that, and the electric systems, that's great. So let's hope that they do have the funding, that they do have the patience to continue working on that project. It's really great. And as I said, it would be nice if all of you guys watching this video, taking part in this stream, if you would just download this demo and play it maybe for a while, or yeah, even if you would just download it, you would give these guys a bit of a support. I mean, when millions of people would download the demo, that would give them a boost in finding financial backup. And this is probably, like usual, the problem. They need financial backup to continue and to finish this beautiful idea. I really love it. I really love it. So tonight I'm gonna turn in a little bit earlier. What is it? Time is not yet 2 o'clock, but yeah, I need to get a little bit of sleep, and I do have a few meetings tomorrow, some work to be done. So thank you very much, Weight Loss, Nico, Uncle Bod. It was a pleasure to have you in. And can we save? I think we would just exit, and let's hope that the game would save itself by then. So it was a pleasure, and see you guys tomorrow. I'm gonna do my ordinary U-boat stream, so I hope that you're all gonna drop in. Bye bye.